Hey everybody, Brandon here with iDub Hockey, joined with Nick, CCM's product manager for Protective, here to run us through the incredible new CCM Tacks XF Pro shoulder pad line. Nick, so we have your jet speed and Tacks line. So Tacks specifically, how is the fit profile and the style of player that it's designed for?
That's a great question. So when we talk about our two separate families, what I would say Tacks definitely focused on protection, right? We know players want to feel comfortable. They want to feel when they're at ease when they're on the ice. Tacks really gives that best of both worlds of having a great level of protection, but also super comfortable when they're on the ice. So when we're talking about the type of players that we like to use for these types of gear, I would say Austin Matthews is a perfect example, right? We're not talking about a player that loves to forecheck, that really likes to play hard in front of the net, really that strong, powerful player. And I think those two words, strong and powerful, really fit really well with our Tacks line.
Now we have the XF Pro, a ton of technologies
for sure
built throughout. So let's start with the protection level. As you mentioned, it's built for maximum protection and coverage. So walk us through the protection that you have in the XF Pro.
For sure. So let's start with the thing that jumps out to the most when you're looking at the shoulder pad is definitely our D3O technology, right? So when you look at how we address our D3O inside our shoulder pad, so we'll have it at the bottom of your sternum to really protect this softer portion of your body, which is your stomach, to really make sure that we're nice and protected there. But one of the cool things we were able to add this year is the D3O is not only in the shoulder caps, but goes all the way through your AC joint. We figured out that through our research with universities like University of Ottawa, our AC joint is one of the body parts that really is more susceptible to injuries for hockey players, right? Because when you think of contacts, players are taught to drop their shoulder and really place that body check on players. So that shoulder just gets a ton of weight that presses down. So we don't only want to protect the cap, which is a really strong piece of the body, we want to protect the AC joint that's much more at risk. So we were able to bring a D3O that really slides all the way across and really make sure that the D3O is ready to distribute that impact energy away from that AC joint that's much more susceptible to injuries. But you notice D3O at the front, but we also have it in the back of spine, right? And one of the reasons why we do this is puck battles in front of the net can get pretty nasty when you're playing hockey. So when we talk about that back protection, really for cross checks, for puck battles in the corners, so we have that D3O to really spread impacts away from that spine of yours and really make sure that we really spread that impact away from that single spot. And D3O just does a wonderful job here. And besides D3O, what we also have is our really great fit of JDP caps. We've seen this technology for multiple years now. Don't break what's not broken, right? So we have a great fit with our JDP caps that we're really happy with the way that it performs on puck impacts, body checks, or any type of physical contact. So we have a great piece of technology spread across different zones of the shoulder pad to make sure players are protected.
Another key technology and protection is Zotefoam as well.
For sure.
Which offers additional benefits for the player. So walk us through what Zotefoam does for the player, and as well as the bicep guard here too. It's a different type of foam.
For sure.
As well.
What we want to do with our Tacks line is to make sure that not only are players protected when they're on the ice, but they could also move. Hockey's growing, right? We want players to not only be able to be protected, but also being able to really be themselves on the ice and not feel constrained from their equipment. And Zotefoam does a great job at promoting that mobility, right? It's super light, it's super comfortable inside the body. So when you have that texture applied to your body, it feels really soft, but it also applies a great level of protection for those areas too, which are your ribs that are super sensitive and really prone to injuries. So Zotefoam does a great job at protecting, but it also does a great job at promoting the breathability on these gear, right? Because we look at Zotefoam doesn't absorb any sweat. So sweat will just glide off and make sure players are fresh when on the ice and not playing with soaked equipment.
So that's why there's no liner as well.
That's why there's no liner.
It dispels that moisture.
There you go, you don't need it.
So there's also a breathability story involved too, because the player who's, in every aspect of the rink battling hard, they're gonna get pretty hot.
Yeah.
So there's a great breathability story. Can you walk us through that?
For sure. So in 23, we were able to bring our great technology. It's called AirTech. I'm sure you've heard of it. So we were able to bring certain pieces of that AirTech story into our Tacks Protective line. So in our Tacks Protective, you'll also notice we'll have our AirTech suspension system in the biceps. And what this does is really allows to create separation between your body parts and the protective equipment to allow air to really go through the body. And breathability is all great, but you also need to have places on the piece of protected that really allow air to circulate inside and really make sure it goes out, right? You don't want hot air to stay in. We want it to get wicked away and really get outside the gear. So all these little ventilation spots on the shoulder pad really allow for that great breathability. And then Zotefoam Zoe foam just allows the gear to not have sweat stick on you, right? That's why we don't have liner inside. We don't want that moisture to build up inside the gear, and all that ventilation inside will really make sure it gets wicked away.
Now, if the protection doesn't fit properly, it's going to be an issue. So there's a ton of adjustments
Of course.
in the XF Pro too. So can you walk us how a player can fine tune their adjustment to fit their body?
Absolutely. So Tacks is one of the things we love to talk about is the level of adjustability on our gear. And when we talk about adjustability, it can mean a lot of things, right? It can be parts that are moving on your protective gear. It could be straps. How we address it in the shoulder pad is definitely the way we make our straps. So you'll notice inside the protective gear, we have straps that really are adjustable. So you'll notice inside the protective gear, you can adjust the length of your strap. If it's too tight, if it's too loose, you can really move that strap around to make sure it has a great wrap around your body. But not only do we have it on the rib area for that strap, we also have our adjustability on the belly pad that's completely removable, can put it back, can take it off, and really just give more players freedom of movement and just freedom of how they want to dress, right? We're not telling players how they can dress, we're just giving them options and letting them take care of the rest. And the final piece that I'll mention is our strapping on the bicep for our attachment is a double strapped, right? So we can strap it on either way we want and really gives players freedom of movement and freedom of range to really do whatever they want with their protective gear.
And it's also included on the rear panel too, is that correct?
Absolutely. So even on the rear panel, that's a great point. We can really put the adjustability on it. The only point is that it's not removable, but they'll move the pieces up and down depending on where they want that protection level.
And the final feature on the back panel there is that clavicle mobility.
Oh yeah.
So walk us through kind of the inspiration and the design behind that.
For sure. So when we turn back to shoulder pads, you'll notice that the back clavicles are really floating. So what this does is that when players hyperextend on the ice, hyperextend when they're wearing the shoulder pad, it makes sure that the protection stays in place. You'll notice that if you're grabbing for a puck, reaching out, we don't want the shoulder pad to come up with you. We want to make sure everything stays nice and tight around the body. And same thing also when players are trying on their gear or they're putting on jerseys on, we want the shoulder pad to always stay low so they're not messing around with the shoulder pad, it's not moving around, and it just gives more freedom of movement and really promotes that mobility inside of a Tacks protector that's really built for all of protection. We're able to do that this year.
Now we have the XF, fantastic value piece for elite level protection, but at a more affordable price for that competitive player. So walk us through, the technologies that you were able to bring from the Pro into the XF.
Absolutely. So first thing I'll always notice when I'm talking to these products is that level of D3O that we're able to apply into our Tacks protective. So you'll notice very similar, we have that nice D3O in the front sternum to really protect that softer area of the body. But what we also have is we also have the D3O in the back of spine, again, to really protect those players when they're puck battles in front of the net, puck battles behind the net, really make sure they're great coverage in that area. But what we also have in terms of protection, right, we still have our plastic sternum, really to make sure it's great to withstand all that energy and that shots can arrive there. But we also have JDP caps, right, to really protect those shoulders, make sure that when players are making contact or even receiving a contact, that they feel comfortable and protected when they're stepping on the ice.
And the same breathability story and adjustment features in the torso and biceps stay there too, right?
Absolutely. So in terms of breathability inside this gear, we still have our Zoe foam that doesn't absorb any sweat, right? To make sure that players don't have these sweat buildups up and around their body. What we also do is we'll also have these ventilation holes to really make sure that air has an area that actually can go away, right? We don't want hot air to build up inside the gear. So we really make sure that we have an area that air can exit. In terms of adjustability, right, we still have adjustability inside the strapping system. So both of our straps inside, definitely adjustable in this area. We still have the adjustability inside the biceps to really make sure players can adjust their strapping however way they want them. But what's very interesting in the XF compared to the XF Pro is on the biceps, what we have is we have our plastic guard from our XF family, right? So what this does, just gives more protection for the players inside the bicep area for those slashes, puck impacts. So we're really promoting the protection aspect of the shoulder pad.
And then last but certainly not least is the XF80, a great starting point for a player who's looking to get into that Tacks line, get that maximum cover and protection for their game. So walk us through the key features that the XF80 has.
Absolutely. So what I always like to say for our XF80 products is that bang for your buck, this is an amazing product, right? You look at how we apply protection compared to our other products. We still have that nice plastic sternum to really showcase that protection. We have a level of exposed foam, which is our Zote at the bottom to really showcase that, yeah, we can have protection in the belly pad, but we also have a great level of comfort and pieces that don't absorb much sweat. In terms of the caps, right? You notice I spoke about JDP and the other products. The third price point, it's still still has JDP, right? We have a great technology here, so it can be spread all across the 3 different products. But what we also have inside the products that we didn't really talk about the other ones would be our sublimated liner inside the shoulder pad. Our sublimated liner is extremely soft and really promotes that level of breathability inside the gear. And it really just gives players more reason to really have that promoting mobility, that softness in the liner. And I think it just looks fantastic from the inside as well with that neon yellow inside.
I agree. Well, Nick, I just want to say thank you once again for running us through that XF Pro shoulder pad line.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thanks, guys.
And for you at home, if you're looking to get your hands on one of these incredible models, you can head over to icewarehouse.com.